Or no worries. Oh, that's okay. We got to do it again. You have to give your introduction every class. I would love to know what brought you all to this room today. And then after you all introduce yourselves, I'll tell you a little bit about me. If you are online and you would like to, how about we, in honor of you all not being in the room, if you are comfortable and you can unmute your line at the bottom of your screen to the left, there is a video image and there's a little microphone. If you click on the microphone, you should see it. It's gray, not with the red line. You can unmute, say your name, where you are currently located, and what brought you to today. If you all can keep it to 30 seconds, it'll allow all of us to have our moment to shine. Is there anyone online? David, I see you're unmuted. Would you like to kick us off?
Well, my name's David. What else did you want to know?
Where are you located and what brings you here this evening?
Well, I live here in Benicia. I've been here since 1977, I think. And I am interested in the origins of this critical race theory.
Excellent.
So if it's open for discussion, I would like to take part.
Thank you so much, David, for being willing to commune with us this evening. I appreciate you. And who would like to go next? And when you all are done sharing, feel free to mute your line. And that way we can have a clean listening experience for everyone. Judy, I see that you're unmuted. Would you like to go next? And if I say your name incorrectly, feel free to correct me.
No, that's correct.
Oh,
Can you,
perfect.
not sure you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
All right. I live in Benicia. I've been here probably 30 years off and on. And I guess intellectual curiosity.
Intellectual curiosity. Curiosity is one of the key components to empathy, to have a genuine curiosity for someone else's experience. Thank you so much, Judy. We appreciate you being here this evening.
Thank you.
Who else would like to share? I see a couple other folks online. Jan, would you like to unmute and join us this evening?
Hi, my name is Jan. I've lived here since 1983. And what brought me here was the fact that it was the library and the fact that there was no pressure, because I had almost signed up to do the other one, and it was just too much. The reading was very difficult and it was too much.
Yeah. Tell me about your attentions tonight. So the library brought you here. How do you, what brings you with us this evening?
Well, to find out more about maybe what I missed by not doing the one that was too much.
Gotcha.
It seemed much more accessible.
Mm.
And the book is much more accessible than the other readings.
Thank you so much, Jan, and that's very true. I'll tell you a little bit about my work. You can't deliver a message if you don't deliver it with love. People can't hear you. So thank you, Jan, for taking the courageous step of trying again. Who else is online who would like to join us? How about you, Cheryl, if you can? All right. Oh, nice.
Yes, hi. Well, I was interested in the subject matter and that it was going to be right here in our town when I know that we need to look into this.
At home. Thank you, Cheryl. You said we're at home, so I got to address this at home, and you are right on target. Each and every one of us represents a home, an ancestry, a community, and now you get to be an advocate for this message in your home. Thank you, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
Who else would like to join us? I don't have to call you by name. If you feel the spirit, feel free to unmute. Otherwise, is it Vicarin?
Hi, I'm actually Karen of the Vic and Karen combined.
Oh, I love it.
That's why it comes up Vic Karen.
I love
So I kind of agree with Cheryl. The subject matter is very important to me. I would like to be able to have more genuine conversations with my friends. So that's the best that I can really say. I'm not very articulate. But,
I think
And
you
also,
are-
I'm from Benicia.
Oh.
I'm just at my mother's in Sebastopol right now, so that's why I'm not as
Nice.
I love that. First of all, shout out to all the caretakers and folks who spend time with their families. And I think you articulated yourself quite well, Karen. Thank you so much for being with us. I see you, Jean. I see your name at least. Would you like to unmute and introduce yourself to the room?
Hi, yes, I'm Jean, and I'm here because I'm curious to see what this is all about.
Excellent. Curiosity is a beautiful thing. Thank you for joining us. Are you also in Benicia?
Oh, yes, I live in Benicia.
Excellent. Welcome. Who else would like to go next? I see some phone numbers and they don't have names. I think there's a 415 number. Yes.
Hi, this is Kim. Can you hear me?
Yes, Kim, thank you.
I couldn't get to the Zoom video link, so that's why I'm on the call. It came up as not a good link, so
Okay.
maybe
We'll fix that for
week
next
we
time, I
can
promise.
address that.
Thank you
Yeah,
for your
awesome.
consistency and making sure that you attended nonetheless.
Sure, no, the first one's important. So I live in Vallejo, and I've done a fair amount of reading over the last couple of years on race relations in our country, and I just wanted to further my understanding of it. When I went to Europe with my daughter, she would look at me and she said, "Mom, you are such an American." And I feel that way about living here, that I am so white and I don't understand so much of what people of color go through in their lives. And so that's why I'm here.
And you said Kimberly is your name?
Yes.
First of all, you should be proud of yourself. You have a daughter who is comfortable and courageous enough to at least make the challenging statements, which prompted you.
Oh,
to be-
she is. She is that.
She got it from somewhere, right? And you say, you know what? Let me check on what my daughter pointed out here. So Kimberly, thank you so much. I appreciate your vulnerability and your honesty. And last on the Zoom, but certainly not least, we have a 510 number. Oh, Gwen, oh, we got Gwen.
Hi.
Yeah, all right, 510, and we got a couple of folks. Thank you for helping us out. Yes.
Hi, I am Natalie, and I also tried to Zoom in, but the link wasn't working, so I had to call in.
Okay.
Thank you for your.
I love Claudia Rankin so much, and I was super excited when I thought that the library was having this program. So I told everybody I know about it, and I hope they all came. And I'm in Benicia.
Thank you.
Claudia is going to be joining us on June 1st and to talk with us. So yeah. So-
Please, I want all the invites. Just because I came today does not mean, I drove from Tracy to be here with you all. I will do it as many times as I need to for this conversation. And your name one more time? Natalie.
It's Natalie.
Oh, love that name. Thank you so much. I love all the names. I know a lot of Natalies.
Thank you.
And for anyone who is not, I believe we have Gwen and maybe one or two other folks. Gwen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi,
Hi.
this is Gwen. Hi. I've lived in Benicia 6 years, formerly from the East Coast. And I joined this because reading the book to me was just fascinating. And I felt that I need to learn and understand. And that's why I'm here.
Thank you so much, Gwen. I appreciate that. We all are students of life. We should be learning every day, and I appreciate it. Now, I see your name. It looks like D. Tailpack. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Donna. I guess
Oh,
I typed
nice.
in Donna Telepack. I've lived in Benicia for 45 years and been in and out of community events and business and that type of thing in Benicia. I had a gift store here at one time. And I am appalled sometimes when I read about some of the racial strife in America. And being an older person, I have some of those prejudices within me. And I think
I'm not proud of it. And I think a program like this would help me to bring those to the forefront and, say, become a better person and more understanding. So that is my reason for being here is pretty selfish, I guess. It's about me.
First of all, your reason for being here is absolutely beautiful. You want to be a better person. I mean, I wish everybody wanted that, Donna. Thank you so much for your vulnerability and honesty. The truth is, we are all subject to unconscious bias, which is based on the socialization of society, which I'll get to in a moment. And so you are no different from all of us. It's called being human. It's a part of our condition. So anyone else that I missed on, thank you so much, Donna. Anyone else that I missed online? I think we have everyone. And now we get to introduce the wonderful folks in the room, and we'll end with me. So Janet, would you like to start?
Hi, I'm Janet Roberson. I grew up in Baltimore. I've lived here for 20 years. I have 3 children, 2 in the elementary school and 1 in the middle school. And I've read a lot of books by Ibram Kendi and Ijoma Oluo and some others. I'm reading this one now. We're all reading. I'll tell you up front, I pretty much disagree with everything she says, which I figured I'd come. And I'm very interested in the topic as well. I might have had a very different experience than the rest of you based on where I grew up.
Yes.
I grew up as a minority. I also grew up traveling the world and some other experiences. I love Benicia. I love America. I'm dismayed as a mom of 3 young children that our schools no longer teach any kind of civic pride. They don't say the pledge. They don't teach patriotic songs. They're basically taught that America's bad and white people are bad. And I hear it all the time from my kids. Forgive me if I get a little emotional.
That's what this room is for. Just thank you.
That hurts my heart. And so we'll get more into it, I'm sure, with the discussion, but I have lots of thoughts and lots of notes. And so I might be very different, have a different opinion than the rest of you guys. And hopefully you appreciate that and we can all talk about it together.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we need you in this room.
Okay.
And
Cool.
if anything, I hope that in a moment, this space, especially as long as I am in it, is intended to be a safe space.
Good deal.
Your opinion is equally as valuable as everyone else's in the room. That's how we have a greater sense of understanding. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
My name is Ruth Workman. I'm a real oddity in that I was born and raised in Benicia and I've lived here my whole life. So when somebody says they've lived here 20 years, that's nothing. You know? I was here way before Southampton was built. This was a very small town of probably under 5,000 people, and everybody was the same. It was a blue-collar town where it didn't matter what color you were. Everybody was exactly in the same boat. Everybody was together. It was a real sense of community where everybody took care of everybody. So it's so different now. It's thrilling to me that Benicia has grown so much, and it's brought in a whole different group of people in that it's educated people. It's that we never had. When I was a kid growing up here, we had 1 doctor and 1 was a man and wife lawyers, and that was it. So as far as professional people, everybody else was next one, notch down. So it interests me to see how the town has changed so much for the good, but at the same time, there's this underlying current that's not so good. See, it's bringing in outside feelings, and so I want to know more about it and learn more about it. And I also want to learn about how to stop it.
Yes.
And change it and bring it back to where everybody's together.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And your name one more time?
Ruth.
Ruth, thank you so much. I love your glasses.
Thank you.
Would you like to introduce yourself to the
So
room?
my name is Deb, and I moved here in '98 in the military, and I since retired and worked in the community at North Bay Healthcare as a physician. And I'm retired. I always wanted to live in California. I grew up in the South, and my parents were very Southern, as were all my other relatives. And so I grew up with a very bigoted sort of background, but I joined the military very young. And I will say this for the Air Force, it'll jerk that out of you, because it's really very egalitarian, believe it or not, it is. And, but I always wanted to live in California because I thought of California as the place where people who are different can be at home.
Mhm.
You know,
Yes.
California is a place where those of us that don't feel quite like the others around us can come to California and feel at home. And I thought that when I came here, and I did feel that in the beginning, but I feel like Benicia has changed from, even in the 20-something years I've been here. And I find the racial divide to be an extreme problem that no one talks about. And I'm here to talk about it. You know, I want to know why, you know, all the people of color live in Vallejo or Tracy or somewhere, Antioch, Pittsburgh. No people of color, majority people of color live in Benicia. And why is that? Because I love my town and I want to see it. I want to understand. I want to understand.
Thank you, Deb.
I'm Vida Mooska. I've lived in Benicia since 1981. My kids, I moved here when my kids started middle school, so they went middle school, high school. My grandson went elementary school, graduated from Benicia High. His daughter now is, my great-granddaughter is in elementary school in the 5th grade. I have a totally different experience than you. The teachers have been wonderful. They teach the kids great. The kids at the elementary school where my granddaughter goes, and I've done a lot of volunteer work, so I've seen it myself. They say the Pledge of Allegiance every single day.
In Benicia?
Every single day. I've heard it.
Okay.
And
Not at Mary Farmer or
but
Benicia
it
Middle
might
School,
be a
but-
different school.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know, but I don't know why it would be different.
Okay.
But anyway, the reason I'm here is I saw the flyer. I love to come to all the Benicia programs, and the book looked fascinating to me. And I want to be here to know how one person can help. I'm really concerned with all the racist problems we have now. I'm concerned that people that I knew, that I worked with, that I didn't know were racist, I'm finding out from Facebook by comments they made that they were. And I want to know, how did I miss that? But I think part of it is because people are feeling freer in this world now to say whatever they want to say. They don't keep it inside anymore. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I'm really concerned with the racist problems. I probably have a different attitude also, maybe. I was in law enforcement, so I've worked inside of a jail a couple times, and that's an eye-opener. But anyway, I want to know what I can do, like when I see what I feel is a racist comment. What do you attack it? Do you know, on Facebook from one of my friends, how do I deal with that to say that's not okay? And I just don't know how to deal with it. And I'm hoping that we can learn how we as individual people can fix the problems of the world.
Yes, please try.
Thank you.
I'm Elaine Huff, and I live in Vallejo. I saw the information about the course on Facebook, and I've lived in Vallejo since last September. I moved to this area with my daughter and son-in-law from South Louisiana. I've lived in, I don't know, 5 or 6 different states. I've lived in Southern California before, but race relations became an overriding issue when I was very young. For me, something that I really felt, had strong feelings for. And sometimes I feel the more things change, the more they stay the same right now. So, and I selfishly, I would like to be able to talk to people because I haven't had very many people to talk to.
I think they're gonna like it.
That's all right.
I think they're gonna like talking to you once you get past whatever they have to get past in order to engage. Thank you.
By the way, I'm a retired teacher. So I taught all kinds of kids. And we said the Pledge of Allegiance every day in my school.
Yeah.
So, and lots of schools are doing it.
I am Suzanne. I do not live in Benicia. I actually live in Fremont, but I was born and raised there, and I think Fremont has a little bit of some similarities in terms of like the kind of boom of growth and also just the growing pains of trying to adjust to feeling that both like pride and connection to where you were raised and what was really beautiful about it, and losing some of that, and also trying to find like the beauty through the change, and how that potentially impacts your identity. I came today because Dom is a very close friend of mine, and I'd love to go and join when she speaks. And I think my profession is a therapist, and I just as a human being love authentic conversations and difficult conversations. I think it's how it is a gift to come here, because it means that if you're here, you're willing to listen to other people be vulnerable, or you're willing to sit in your own discomfort to talk about things where you're like, either what I'm going to say might make somebody uncomfortable, or what they're going to say might make me uncomfortable. And I think this topic for any individual can bring up very personal feelings around identity and shame and guilt, and also anger and pride, and that is who we are. And yeah, so thank you for having me here, even though I am not a Venetian or Venetian. Yeah.
Thank you for coming. I didn't intend to bring the therapist for any other reason than it happens to be her occupation. And I want to say, I know we probably took more time than you intended, but as this is going to be the first time, then start in community. This is the beginning of this conversation. My name is Dominique Hollins. I am a JEDI consultant, which stands for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And I speak all over the world to corporations, to their employees, because all these things you all talked about in your communities, we all bring it to our workplace. And it affects who gets promoted, who gets hired, who's on the board of directors. And it's not just race, it's sexism, it's xenophobia, it's Islamophobia. It is what's the, I should know this for our Jewish community.
Yes, it's
Anti-Semitism. It's hate, ableism. It is homophobia. It is hate towards anything that is different from you. But if you look in nature, nothing in nature tries to destroy or repurpose itself to be like anything else in nature. The shark isn't trying to be like the whale. We have a bountiful set of animals, of flowers, and millions of variations. Even nature knows that diversity is essential. The work that I teach every day, I work with some of the most brilliant, wealthy, narcissistic, unconscious, powerful people. And that is dangerous. And so when I go into these organizations, I try to speak to the human under all the layers of hate that have been attributed to us through our socialization. And the reason why I do it is because of how my story started, and the reason why I chose to be here today. I come from the ancestry of Cameroon on the continent of Africa, which I had to find out through a DNA service. I'm about 13% Irish, and I'm afraid to know how. My family landed in Selma and Birmingham, Alabama, where I would later learn from my grandmother that she had to hide under her bed from the KKK. I learned that my great-grandfather had a third-grade education, and he owned 3 businesses. He sold coal in the winter, he sold ice in the summer, and he owned a store that we call the Silver Dollar. I have a recording of my grandmother saying this before she passed away. When my great-grandfather died, apparently they used to have checks or loans for grocery stores, and people would pay later when they could. The white people did not pay their bills. And so when my great-grandmother took on the store, we lost it. She didn't know how to carry a store. She was a housewife. My grandmother became the head of household at 15 years old. She took care of all her siblings, and her children didn't get education. It's through the grace of God that I am here today, because she had to escape the Jim Crow South and move to Chicago, where I eventually grew up. I didn't know I was being taught to hate white people. It wasn't that I was taught that way, but the prejudices I'm receiving, what do you do when everywhere you go, you are taught and you see things, or you're like, why is that? Why am I being treated differently? And you see it as a child. Then you listen to the stories of your great grandparents. Then you go into the school system and you learn about the Holocaust, and you learn about slavery, and you learn about the LGBTQ rights movement. And as a child, you say, where can people go where they're safe from each other? It didn't seem to be a place. And so when I left Chicago to go to college, I didn't want to be Black anymore. Being a fair-skinned young Black woman, I didn't know that colorism was so prevalent in my family that I was the favorite, but I couldn't understand why. I would later find out from my darker-skinned cousins how painful it would be to see how the lighter-skinned cousins are treated. I later found out it's the same on the continent of Asia, in the Indian community, in the Korean community, in Africa, in different parts of Europe. There's a possessive investment in whiteness that was taught to us. And so by the time I got to Howard University in Washington, DC, it was the first time I would fall in love with my Blackness, but really I fell in love with America. And being in Washington, DC, I went to the mall and I went in as many museums as I could. And I fell in love with so many cultures. I couldn't understand how the very segregated Chicago, we knew where each other was, but we stayed in our own places. I didn't know what Czechoslovakia, I was proud to know what a Czechoslovakian person was because they would do the plumbing and we would hang out with the Italians in our neighborhood because the train system brought us together during the Industrial Revolution. And as I learned this community, I said, well, why do we hate each other? And then I went to Howard and then I saw the different Black people, but we were not the same. My South African brothers and sisters, or those who came from the continent, did not look at African Americans the same. My Caribbean brothers and sisters didn't look at us the same. I first realized, oh, even among us, we were different. And so now I had a different appreciation for Blackness from socioeconomic backgrounds. We were perpetuating some of the systems within our own community. I was amplified in California. I never wanted to come here. I didn't know. I said, listen, I'm a Midwestern girl. I thought I was a liberal in the Midwest. I got here, I'm a moderate. I didn't know. I said, listen, I didn't know too much freedom, but that was ignorance because it was what I taught from the conservatism of the South to then the Midwest and then the liberalism, the education of Ellis Island and Washington, DC and the history of this nation, which I too love, a bastion of possibility, also with the root of how we got here. At the end of slavery, when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, the value of slaves was $3 billion. The reason why we're the wealthiest nation on the planet is because we stole it off of the lives of my ancestors. And so now what we see is a metastasization of how that was socialized. And I won't go into too much detail, but what I'll say is this is not the beginning of something, it's a continuation. And because we were told 3 things you don't talk about, money, church, and politics. Because and sex, right? Those are the things that would create division. So what I do when I go into corporate spaces, the dominant community that I speak to are typically white men, and the ones that are hardest to talk to, or it is Korean or Chinese men or Indian men. Those are the 4 groups with the most power. And most often the men of color are like, don't put me in that same box because we might be wealthy, but we are not treated the same. I hear it from men. I hear it from women. As women are competing with each other, they have internalized sexism to compete in rooms with men, and then they become the toxic man woman in the room. I have to talk to women who can't even see it, and then they express the pains that they go through. I speak to homosexual men who can never tell their guy friends their truth, or they will be expelled from the group. I didn't know what bride napping was until somebody told me from the Middle East. When you are a child, for some women, if you lose your virginity, you can be killed. And so some men will steal them from their families, rape them, and then claim them as property. The young lady can no longer go home, and now she is bound to live with that man for the rest of her life. When you hear these stories about people all over the world, I won't even get to Ethiopia and what's happening right now, what's happening in China, and the things that are happening in Russia. What's happening in America is not different. We are not special. We're just a younger country coming into what many places in the world are experiencing. So what I'm going to ask of you and what I do with these executives is I want you to realize this is about you and how you want to unprogram what you have been taught and seek truth so that you then can make your own decisions about how you want to move forward in this conversation. This book is an opportunity for you to talk to someone you may or may not meet with truth. They have no reason to lie to you. They are simply sharing their observations as an educator. They're not trying to make anyone feel bad. It's like it happened. History hurts because the truth hurts. You have to then deal with, what does that mean that I'm a part of it? So one of the reasons why I'm here today with you all is because I need it to be for me. I struggle with my prejudice towards white people, including a fight that I got into with her before we came here today. And I'm the person who has to be in the room speaking from love. If I cannot do it, I am unqualified for this conversation. So I'm going to ask you all to engage in some conversation with me today. And I'm going to give you some tips on how to navigate how you move forward, because it has happened to all of us. I am a bisexual woman from a Southern Baptist family. At 13, when I told my grandmother that I was gay, she said, "I love you, baby, but you're going to hell." What do you do when the woman who made you and then took you to church told you you were condemned to hell at 13? What do you do when the color of your skin, what you were born with, has also condemned you to living purgatory? And then to be intelligent and to be in all these academic systems and to watch it perpetuated in the financial system and the education system. We talk about Wi-Fi and Zoom, but we don't talk about the lack of the digital divide in our country and the fact that there's a significant amount of students who are not being educated because they don't even have Wi-Fi, not just in their home, in their community. So when you look at it and you take yourself out, you zoom out 50,000 feet, you look down at the planet, you go, everybody's on fire. What am I gonna do? I need you to be a fire extinguisher. I need you to be a fire extinguisher. I need you to be a fire extinguisher, because when the house is on fire, everybody grabs something. And right now, our earthly body is on fire. Our American house is on fire. The thing that made us most beautiful is also the thing that is destroying us. It is our diversity. I want you to consider something. As I was listening to you all's beautiful stories, and you said, I grew up in Benicia, and I've been here for a long time. And I thought about the fact that my family moved 7 times growing up, because what we didn't know was the redlining was happening and we kept getting priced out, and that was intentional, which means my parents had to find a new job. We had to find a new commute. We had to go to a new school 7 times. When my colleagues would come in and say, how was your weekend? They would say, oh, my family did this, my family did that. And I realized I no longer want to share my story. So I took all of my pain and all of the stories that I heard, and I said, I am going to use my pain to engage in these conversations, because I can see the pain in the other people that I'm around. So I'll give you 4 tips that I want you all to walk away with as you think about how you want this conversation to resonate with you. Each class, this is just the beginning. This is just the first day. I want you to think about unconscious bias, and feel free to write this down. I'm going to give you a tip about unconscious bias. The second word is microaggressions. The third phrase, cultural agility. And then the last one, allyship. What I teach every day to professionals all over the world, and I say that because there's an assumption that if you can be at these organizations, then clearly you are a reasonable person and you can make good decisions and you are a healthy mind and you don't need Suzanne's services. And right now, Suzanne's business is like 5-fold. Congratulations, business owner. But that means she got a lot of clients right now. So let's talk about unconscious bias. We are social animals, and psychologists have found that we are socialized from a millennia, a lifetime of our existence. Our body is programmed to immediately identify if something is safe or fearful based on our familiarity with it. The reason why we do that is because we need to know, can I survive alone or do I need to be in a group? We're human animals and we are socialized for community. When we exclude each other, The same neurological pathways as if I punched her in her leg are the same neurological pathways that follow exclusion. It's physical pain. Every time we hurt someone verbally or do something to them, whether you put your hands on them or not, it's like getting kicked in the chest because you're not operating in love. And most times it's because we don't know. 99% of the decisions that we make are unconscious. As objective as we would like to believe we are not. When you meet someone for the first time and you have that first impression that says, he's standoffish or she's charming, it's not just because of that moment. It's because people like them, who smile like them, who dress like them, who went to their school. You already have a preconceived notion and they confirmed it. It's not new data. When people are unfamiliar and they're operating in ways that are foreign to you, oh no, I don't want to have anything to do with that. That's not familiar, or it is familiar, but you've had a negative connotation associated with it. So the first part is to recognize the behaviors you are operating on daily are probably unconscious. You probably don't even know you're doing it. And when you do find out, you probably will sit in pain and shame for a while, as I did when I had to sit with my prejudice. I can't be prejudiced towards white people. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And I had to suck that up because it was unconscious. Regardless of how you develop this unconscious behavior, it's your responsibility to do something with it. So that's step one. You have to manage your unconscious bias. And when someone brings it to you, it's a gift. It's feedback. It's showing you your blind spot. So if anybody want to pull you to the side or say something before you respond in rage, know that they came to you in love, whether they can articulate it or not, because it takes a lot of courage to tell somebody that don't want to be told nothing, that they were wrong. All right. So that's step one. Your unconscious bias is a part of who you are. Your job is to manage it. Number two, microaggressions. If you do not manage your unconscious bias, it manifests in a microaggression. A microaggression is a brief or subtle slight or insult or act that is directed, it is derogatory and negative in nature and is directed towards a targeted community or marginalized group. For example, when I look at you, I don't see color. But do you say that to white people? Or, I didn't even know you were gay. Is there a gay symbol or outfit for gay people? I am so impressed with how you overcame your disability. Is there something I needed to overcome? Every one of those statements. Oh, you speak so well. You're so articulate. When did you learn to speak English? It assumes that person was not born in America. And the only reason they speak another language is because they were born somewhere else. If you go to Europe, they speak about 8 languages. It's very normal. And when they come here, they're like, we're so basic. I mean that respectfully, but we got a lot to do. You know, that Atlantic Ocean has really created quite a divide. But the point is, in many ways, the microaggressions manifest. Basically, you are speaking your heart, no matter what you do or say. You are saying your deepest, most ugly or beautiful thoughts. And so be conscious of your biases so they don't manifest the microaggressions. The microaggression means your intent might have been positive, but the impact to the other person was painful. And once you become aware of that impact, regardless of your intent, your responsibility is to repair that relationship. Because I didn't mean to say you were pretty to be fat. I'm sorry, I didn't know you weren't pregnant. I didn't know you couldn't have children. It doesn't change the fact that what you said was painful. So number two is to be mindful of microaggressions. If somebody is responding to you or wincing, pay attention to the body language of people that you know, those you love and those you don't know. Watch how they respond to you. And if you ever feel like you rub somebody the wrong way, just ask them, hey, I said something earlier. Did I rub you the wrong way? It's okay, because we're going to make mistakes. Fall and get back up. Number three, cultural agility. I speak 36 languages. I speak South Side of Chicago. I speak Howard University. I speak Silicon Valley. I speak Selma, Alabama. I speak Fremont. I speak bisexual. I speak whatever, all the identities I picked up. No matter what room I'm in, I can pivot. I just left a Christian leadership home. Tofu language. It can fit anything. Yes. I want you all to practice your cultural agility. One assignment I want you to give yourself is go home and think about the friends you have. Think about your community. Who do you spend the most time with? How many dimensions of identity do they have? Think about the world, and there are 7.5 billion of us. If your cohort of friends all look and sound the same, how much of the world are you missing? How is it that you can travel to different countries when the person from that country is probably a friend that could have told you the best quaint restaurant to go to in a small village, in a small town, if you had just taken a moment to care enough about the culture that was next to you in America versus the one you flew to and took your American behaviors without being conscious of the culture and the respect and the tradition, and you couldn't do it with the person here. Your job is to become more culturally agile. So when you hear these stories, you're not so surprised. It didn't happen to me. Oh, you may sit in a position of privilege, which is also a part of cultural agility. We all have a form of privilege and we all have a form of marginalization. If you're in a certain age group, you're gonna be marginalized. Whether you are a Gen Z, Boomer, Gen X, whatever group you're in, there's a form of marginalization. If you are a person who is socioeconomically different, or if you don't earn a home, you're in a different group. If you're a person who's transgender, if you're cisgender, we sit in privilege. If you have all of your limbs and all of your senses, you're sitting in privilege. If you can go home and get in your bed and go to sleep, you're sitting in privilege. There is not one single one of us in this room who can breathe today and be conscious and have the wherewithal to sit in this room that is not sitting in privilege, regardless of your marginalization. I may be Black and I may be bisexual, but I can do a lot of things in this world that a lot of people cannot. And so I better suck it up because I'm not special, but I do have the power to be a support to someone who does not have what I have. I would like to activate each and every one of you and your cultural agility, because when you show up, you should be able to interact with Deb the same way you can interact with Janet, adjusting to your different personalities, but not your identity. Because at the end of the day, we all came from Rift Valley in Africa more than 2000 BC. And then our seeds sprinkled all over the world, and now we're unfamiliar when the truth is all of us are part of the same body. And I'll get to that in my closing. The next one and the last one is allyship. In order for you to have cultural agility, you need to have allies that don't look like you, that don't live like you did, that didn't grow up where you grew up. I love that y'all been in Benicia this whole time. Y'all only got 30 years. And what other communities have you visited? How much time do you spend in Oakland? When was the last time you walked around East Palo Alto? I was at a homeless camp with an event, a community event for homeless people in East Palo Alto, and the homeless people were on one side and all the people that came to support them were on the other side. And I said, did anybody ask the homeless people if they wanted this? So I just started walking over. They said, wait, be patient. And everyone I saw just said, how you doing? You look amazing. How is your day doing? Compliment people on their glasses. I find something about them, your voice, your hair. It starts a conversation. Let that be a gateway to bridge building. This is what allyship looks like. Someone doesn't have what I do. What can I give? If everybody said every day, what can I give? What's one thing I can do? You don't have to save the world. People always say, oh, Dominique, it's like drinking from a fire hose. That's because you're drinking by yourself. Did you know 10 million people are thirsty? You're the only one trying to drink. Put a nozzle on it and shower it for everybody. If you got a couple of dollars, there's a student that needs it. There's a homeless person that needs it. There's a Black person that might need not your money, your solidarity. If we're talking about racism, why does it bother you, if at all? When people say, Dominique, you don't think it's your light skin that allows you to go in these rooms? I was pissed when I first heard it. And then I had to think, there may be some truth to that. And now every time I go in a room, I advocate for ethnically diverse people. I need to see the darker skin on the panel. I don't care if she's a white presenting Latina. I need other people to see her culture when she speaks, to see it, for her to speak Spanish too and not be afraid of it. I need to see the intersectionality. That way we let those people who have not been able to be seen, now they can be seen, because you can't see what you can't be. You can't be what you can't see. Representation matters. So you all can be an ally, whether somebody is a person who is disabled, if they are different from you. How can you be an ally to them? And what could you ask of them so you can be a better ally? Is there anything differently that I can do to better show up? I leave you with this. We are one nuclear body. We started as Pangea before the land masses broke up into 7 continents. We were all from one part of Africa before we all spread. And there was slavery all over the world, but slavery was never racialized until it got to the United States. So as you start in 1619, there were white slaves and black slaves. And you know what? Those in power from King David and them, whichever king it was a lot of kings. Whoever was in power started to see that the poor, the white slaves and the black slaves started having kids, and they started hanging out, and they started to revolt, and they was like, oh no, we can't do this. And so racialized slavery was created. And then the immigration laws that came in furthered the divide between whites and blacks. And so now you see immigration laws that have furthered that divide. And so here we sit today to say, how can you recognize that we are all one, like one cells in the body? If your left leg and your right leg start having a fight, your whole body got a problem. And right now our legs are not walking in the same stride. Nuclear, we are human beings of immense power. And we saw that in the ideation that brought this room to be. And we see that in everything you all have created, including your beautiful families and everyone who gets to benefit from that. But we can be nuclear in our possibilities and be fruitful, or we can be nuclear and destructive, like what we're seeing Brother Putin do. And I call him Brother Putin because regardless of how we feel about him, he too is a part of this body who feels slighted since he was a teenager and has carried that hate in his body until his adulthood, where we're watching him psychologically decay in his nation and a part of the world. How far from Putin was Hitler, and how many versions of Putin exist today? So the last one is body. We're all part of the same family. We may not look alike, but my ear doesn't look like my nose. My lips and my legs and my toes have different shapes, and they come in different sizes, and we come in different colors. But at the end of the day, we all deserve the same right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And until we can get that straight, this Constitution is for not, if not everyone in this country has the opportunity to succeed. There is nothing wrong with any of us. We are perfect, each and every one of us as we are. And you all know, for those who've been in the military, worked in the prison system, worked with students, worked with people in need, worked with people trying to heal. When you give people hope and opportunity, this nation is only a fraction as wealthy as it could be if we can operate as one nuclear body. So with that, I want to say thank you all for your time. I am here for as long as you would like me to be to answer any questions. And it has been an honor to sit here with each and every one of you. Thank you. Any questions? Look, I love it. Thank you, Jan. I get the praise hands. And Karen, yes. I would love it if, I don't know how the rest of this works. I know I took up a long time. If you all have any questions, if I could leave you anything, Suzanne and I have not eaten today because we're both small business owners, and we realize that entrepreneurship also means you got to figure out when to eat. And we haven't exactly figured that out yet, but I would love to take time to answer any question. I don't care how difficult it is. I only create safe spaces. If you want to give me a tough question, I love the hard ones. Where would you all like to start, if anyone? That's also for anyone online, if you want to unmute and ask a question.
It's hard to know where to start. You know, I mean,
Wherever the heart moves.
I think we're all here with open hearts. Yes. That's why we're here. I mean, you know, we come from different directions, but I think we're here, you know, open, ready. And personally, I can only speak for myself, but I want to be an ally to all the differences. You know, I am a killer feminist. And I'm like, I'm going to a racism group because, you know, there's so much work in the feminist groups. I mean, I have a lot of work going on here, you know, but I'm going to reach out and try to be an ally to more because it seems so important that we would be there for all of our differences, all of our differences.
Thank you so much. And also, you all don't have to start wherever you feel moved. This is a heart conversation. Our hearts are broken.
Jan, your hand is up.
Yes, Jan, thank you.
Trying to find a new one.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
Takes a while. I appreciate your articulateness. You have put into words and phrases and sentences something I couldn't do. And I appreciate that as a starting point. So thank you.
You are so welcome, Jan. Thank you for your feedback. It really warms my heart.
Well, I think one of the things that we'll all benefit from participating in this, I hope, is just being open and being willing to be uncomfortable, being willing to start conversations. It's a process. We're all of us going to continue to learn for our entire lives. And, you know, I think a lot of us, in particular over the last couple of years, have really just really woken up to a lot of things that even if you thought you knew, you're finding that you didn't. And you know, I was a history major, and now I'm learning about all the history nobody learned that they didn't teach us. And so I have 2 children. And so one of the things that I want to be able to do is to find ways to have conversations with them about these things, and to, you know, because my kids, you know, they're both white and they're both male. One's actually non-binary, but they live in a community that's very diverse. My oldest went to a immersion elementary school, which was 90% Latinx. But it's, you know, even I just don't think his experience is going to be different from kids that, you know, because it's not just about color, it's about socioeconomics and opportunity. And, you know, whether or not your parents are still together, whether or not your parent, you know, you have a family member who's in prison, or whether or not you know, you're first generation, second generation, if you just went to college, so many different things that make up what you bring to the table. But just to be able to have conversations and see, and to learn from others, and to, again, just to be open to hearing criticism and trying to do some self-work and all of that, is that all of us will benefit from that. So glad we're able to do this. I see, Gwen, you unmuted yourself. Did you want to add?
Yes, I wanted to just share a little bit about the fact I'm originally from New York City. And I've had the good fortune maybe to live in a lot of different places in the US, including Chicago. Too cold. But
yes, I agree. I'm still here. I'm not going back.
and grew up in a neighborhood that even in the 1950s was fairly integrated, diverse. And what's I realized now that many years have passed since that so little has actually changed. I was in high school when I was watching my neighborhood get smashed up after the assassination of Martin Luther King. I watched New York City get blown up by angry people living in harsh conditions who had nowhere else to go and nothing else to do except blow up what they had. And I see it happen over and over and over. And what has happened in the last 2 years that gives me a crazy hope is the anger that people are showing about this cannot continue. I mean, if I've watched the same thing happen over and over and over again in my lifetime, I think it's important that people get both angry, but then also to be able to say, I'm going to do something about it. And so I'm a little hopeful, but it's the best I can do. And to make whatever I can do be as important as can be. I also think have to understand, I was too used to patting myself on the shoulder about a whole batch of things. I worked in global health, and I had the opportunity to work with people of all different kinds. I've been to Africa and Asia, different religions, different sexual orientation, because that's where people go to these types of workplaces because they can feel completely comfortable. Mm-hmm. And you can pat yourself on the back for so long and saying, I look at all these people and I work with them and I don't see differences. But then you have to look inside yourself, really, and say, but am I applying that to all the people that I'm with? Is it just my workplace that feels really comfy? If I'm in a more public environment in other places, do I really have internal prejudices and bias? And the answer is yes, of course I do. And to just continue to evolve and learn about what my personal prejudices and biases are. And I think that's an important part of this conversation.
Thank you so much, Gwen. You are doing what too few of us are doing right now, but this room is proof that there are a lot more of us having these conversations than we know. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of folks having huddles about what are we going to do. So if you need some hope, know that I drove here from Tracy on a weeknight because I said Zoom isn't enough for this type of conversation. I need to feel you all to the extent that I can. Also, what you just described is another form of microaggression. When I see you, I treat all humans the same. We're all human. The problem with that is you ignore the uniqueness of each human. To say, oh no, we're all flowers, we're all flowers. No, I'm a dandelion, you're a rose, I'm a Venus flytrap, and then the real pretty one that looks like it's like a bird with a thing, and they got them in California. Everybody, nope, we come from different lines, we're all flowers, but we all spring differently. Venus flytraps are like, I'm fine with my trap. You know, everybody has a different thing. We're not trying to be, if you say I'm only see human, you're negating that human experience is unique from this human experience, and how you interact is to be conscious of that so you don't show up with the biases that these communities face, or with the assumption that people, oh, everybody has a house. Where? Oh, everybody has the internet. Oh, everybody, if they just work hard enough, they can get a job. If there are systemic barriers, that's actually not true. Oh, we don't want to lower the bar by hiring more women. Is it that women can't do the same job as men? Do you know we're still fighting for pay equity?
Yes.
Yes.
So if you're struggling with racism and you're a woman and we still don't have pay equity, we have a problem. Okay. I just want to, if you're a gay person and you're still struggling with racism, we have a problem. You're saying, oh no, my marginalization is superior to yours. And that's exactly the point. These levels were created in order for resources to be distributed to different communities. And the truth is, the world is more bountiful than we know what to do with. Our bodies literally regenerate themselves. You can eat fruit and things off of the ground because the earth is abundant for all of us. There is no limitations on resources. There is hoarding of resources. So if you want to be an agent of change, I want you to go and do a self-assessment for yourself. To what degree have I relished in privilege? And how many people are different from me? Now, how many friends do I have that fit in that different population? If you can at least start there with one person, you're onto something. If you're at least thinking about it, you're onto something. But because you came to this room tonight, you're onto something. So thank all of you. You are exactly what we need. It just takes one. Thank you, Jennifer, for your vision. And please invite me to all the things. I won't talk as much at the other ones.
No, and yeah, and that's my always.
Thank you.
Dominic.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
But I want, before we close up,
I can help you pass them out if you
no,
like.
Yes, and yeah, just a couple things. I do have the journaling thing, and we'll put this online also for those of you who are joining this remotely so that you'll have access to it. We'll put it on the book to action page on the library's website. And also before, again, we got 12 weeks that we're gonna be doing this. So this feels like I'm sure we could all be here till midnight if we had some food for you. But my husband's calling me, wonder where the heck I am. I'm like, sorry. But I did want to very quickly, just in closing, I'm an audiobook person. And so I love spoken word. It's my favorite thing in the world. I love to read aloud and I love to listen to others read to me. And I got the audiobook version of the Just Us book, and which is different. I tell you, the first time that this ever happened to me was I read a book club with a book called The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. Have you ever read that? I did that for book club, and I listened to it, and I showed up, and I'm talking about it. People started talking about the illustrations. I was like, the what? So it is a little hard to listen to this because there's so much media in this. And in fact, when I was listening to it, and she was describing the photograph, I can't remember the name of it, but it was something about whiteness. And I was walking around the park, and so I was like, what is she talking about? So I was searching for it on my phone and trying to look at it in the light. I couldn't get it right. What is she talking about? So there is a little bit of loss, but one of my favorite things that opens this up is the poem that she wrote at the beginning, the What If poem. And so I wanted to just share that, not me reading, but the, and this isn't the author reading either, it's just the person who narrated it, who unfortunately I don't know her name. But it's just short and sweet, and I think it's a great way for us to just kind of finish off our evening.
What does it mean to want an age-old call for change, not to change, and yet also to feel bullied by the call to change? How is a call to change named shame, named penance, named chastisement? How does one say, what if, without reproach? The root of chastise is to make pure. The impossibility of that, is that what repels and not the call for change? 2, there is resignation in my voice when I say I feel myself slowing down, gauging like a machine the levels of my response. I remain within so sore, I think there is no other way than release. So I ask questions like I know how in the loneliness of my questioning. What still is true? There isn't even a tremor when one is this historied out. I could build a container to carry this being, a container to hold all, though we were never about completeness. We were never to be whole. I stand in your considered thoughts, also broken, also unknown, extending one sentence. Here, I am here. As I've known you, as I'll never know you, I am here. Whatever is being expressed, what if I am here awaiting, waiting for you in the what if, in the questions, in the conditionals, in the imperatives? What if? 3, what if over tea? What if on our walks? What if in the long yawn of the fog? What if in the long middle of the wait? What if in the passage, in the what if that carries us each day into seasons? What if in the renewed resilience? What if in the endlessness? What if in a lifetime of conversations? What if in the clarity of consciousness? What if nothing changes? 4, what if you are responsible to saving more than to changing? What if you're the destruction coursing beneath your language of savior? Is that too not fucked up? You say, if other white people had not, or if it seemed like not enough, I would have. What if? The repetitive call of what if is only considered repetitive when what if leaves my lips, when what if is uttered by the unheard, and what if What if is the cement of insistence when you insist, what if this is? 5. What is it we want to keep conscious, to stay known, even as we say, each in our own way, I so love, I know, I shrink, I'm asked, I'm also, I react, I smell, I feel, I think, I've been told, I remember, I see, I didn't, I thought, I felt, I failed. I suspect I was doing, I'm sure. I read, I needed, I wouldn't, I was, I should have, I felt, I could have, I never, I'm sure. I ask, you say, and I say, but what is it we are telling? What is it we are wanting to know about here? 6. What if what I want from you is new, newly made, a new sentence in response to all my questions, a swerve in our relation and the words that carry us, the care that carries? I am here without the shrug, attempting to understand how what I want and what I want from you run parallel. Justice and the openings for just us. Little spaces.
For coming tonight. And then next week, all we are is just chat. So please come and we will just, use your journaling thing to keep collecting thoughts and bring back next week. Awesome. Thank you so much.
You all have a wonderful evening, and I hope you come back next week. I hope I didn't see, listen, if you
Not
have
at
less
all.
people next week, just let me know. I will call you and take you out to tea, or I prefer wine. If you like wine, you want to take a walk, I like to hike. It was nice to meet you all and everyone in the room. I mean, everyone at home. Have a good night. Are you all handshakers or huggers?
Oh, okay.
All right. All right, great.
Yeah, that's very interesting to me. Good night, everyone.
Hey, Vida, mine, I'd like to have hugs with anyone who wants one.
Everybody's so afraid of the buttons now, so you're afraid of.
Oh.